Happy Advent, December 3rd. We're trying to look for ourselves at the life of Jesus. The book of Luke specifically was written to kind of explain to somebody the details about Jesus' life so they could decide for themselves whether Jesus was who he says he was. They could decide what to believe. And so we're just working through some simple questions. What does it say? What does it mean? What should I do? And right now, we're kind of in the middle of a backstory, right? You got to sort of trust Luke's process. Instead of launching into a story about Jesus, he started with this old couple, Zechariah and Elizabeth. And Zechariah is a priest. He goes into the temple. He's offering incense. The people are outside praying. And in the middle of this, sort of holy moment, boom, an angel appears to him. Zechariah is terrified. The angel says, "Don't be frightened. Your prayers have been answered." So the angel is speaking. He says, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife, Elizabeth, will bear you a son." And we kind of already understood that Elizabeth was too old. Zechariah was too old. What is going on in this process? A miracle. Well, a promise of a miracle. And we don't really have Zechariah's reaction yet. That's coming. But before we get to that reaction, let's kind of find out what the angel has to say about this child. You can hope that this is a blessing. It's a personal blessing for Zechariah, but you kind of understand because there's people outside praying and Zechariah is inside. Like, it's not just personally for him. It's kind of bigger than Zechariah and Elizabeth getting a baby. God is doing something spectacular and unique through this. So let's find out. Personally, Zechariah says, "You will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth." You see that movement? Who is the you we're talking about? We're talking about Zechariah, Elizabeth. You will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice. So you can kind of assume, well, that multitude of people outside, this is kind of for the people. Well, how is one old couple's baby, how is that going to be like a beautiful rejoicing for many people? Is it just that cute, that inspiring? Is it okay? Well, let's go on a little bit. For he, who are we talking about? He, I think we're talking about the baby, right? He will be great before the Lord. He will be great. So this doesn't just mean like a thumbs up, right? That word "great" is kind of it's about strength. It's about fame. It's about like doing great deeds, right? So it's not just about sort of a thumbs up. So he will be great before the Lord, and he must not drink wine or strong drink. Ooh, strong drink. And he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even from his mother's womb. Now, you can read this a few different ways. Like, what is it saying? It's saying that there's a bunch of stuff he shouldn't do. Is that like, it feels kind of strange to make that declaration so early. Like the kid hasn't even been born, hasn't even been conceived yet, just promised. Okay? And he's pointing out all the stuff he shouldn't do. You might read this and say, "Oh yeah, the Bible's full of a bunch of rules, things you shouldn't do." Or you can read this kind of in connection to the being great. Like what does it take to be great? I saw a documentary one time, well, it was like 15 minutes, just sort of pointing out the exercise regime and the food and nutrition regime that LeBron James has been on for years and years. Like, what does it take to be great? Well, you have to be very particular about how you live, what you put in your body, how you exercise, right? Think of an Olympic athlete. What does it take to be on top? What does it take to win gold medals? I mean, you have to make some decisions about what you will and will not eat. And this seems to be pointing out that he will either be filled with wine and strong drink, or he will be filled with the Holy Spirit. Like, there's a contrast there. So what does it mean to be filled with the Holy Spirit? I mean, that's a good question. Yeah. It's worth sort of Googling, like, where in the Bible does it talk about somebody being filled with the Holy Spirit? What are some of the things that happen? What do they say? What do they do? Right? And this, I'll tell you, this is referencing back to an Old Testament kind of training program. Not exactly training. It's just kind of a way of saying, look, sometimes God sets somebody apart, just like an athlete might be specially gifted, and you set them apart for training. You set them apart to be particularly careful about what they take into their body because they want to be available to the Lord. And we know that's true of our life as well. Like if you don't set aside your time, you'll spend all your time scrolling social media. If you don't set aside your money, then you'll waste all your money. You'll never be able to save it up and spend it. If you don't set things aside and be careful about how you use them, then they won't be useful for much of anything. And we want, or this angel is saying this guy's going to be great. He's going to be set aside for great deeds. Okay, so we know a little bit about this guy. We know the promised child is going to be named John, or at least that's the command. He's going to be great. He's going to be filled with the Holy Spirit, even from his mother's womb. That's an interesting point. Is it like hyperbole? Does it just mean like he's been amazing forever? You know, like how people say that kind of thing? Or is it literal, like even before he has been born, like while being sort of developing inside his mom, is this child going to be cognizant? Is he going to be like, what on earth does that mean? That's kind of a crazy idea. I'm not sure. Is it hyperbole? Is it literal? The Bible has a lot of both of those things. Okay. And he will turn. All right, so we get a little bit of, so what's his mission, right? And he will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. So this gives the impression that they are moving one direction, maybe away from the Lord. And something about this person, this child, something about them will change their direction. Okay? So he will turn. I'm going to do a little arrow there. None of this is, I'm just thinking, like, what does it say? He will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah. So he will go before the Lord. He will go before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah. So here you get a hint of an Old Testament thing. So you get a hint of something that happened a long time ago. You get this character, Elijah. And if you want to know a little bit about a powerful prophet, a person that God has set aside and filled with his spirit in order to give messages to the people, look up Elijah. Read about his story. Read about what it means, to be a prophet in the Old Testament. So in some ways, this guy John, is going to be like Elijah. So it's kind of look back to Elijah. God is doing a thing kind of like he did before, but also this is directing you to look forward. It says he will go before him. So this is kind of giving you a clue that someone else is coming, right? So Elijah was there. John is like Elijah in power and spirit. And both of these guys, whether it's Elijah or John, they're coming before someone else. That's kind of the clue that is showing up right here when it says he will go before him, right? That's the clue that someone else is coming. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know, for looking at the book of Luke, which is about the life of Jesus, the one he's coming before is Jesus. But we're just sort of building this case. Okay, so he will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah. So what do you think spiritual power looks like? What does it look like when the Spirit of God is the main power ruling you instead of the spirit of a strong drink, right? It's just worth contrasting kind of the game plan for this child versus just an ordinary child, right? He will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. He will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, right? I don't know about you, but these are two things that I am longing for fathers to actually care about their children, and for my culture to care about justice. Rather than looking at the objectifying of women or the brutalizing of the innocent, or the killing of unborn babies. Like, instead of looking at those things and saying, that's good, rather than looking at greed and saying, well, good for him, he's got billions. No, I want to be a part of a culture that loves justice, that calls things that are harmful wrong, that calls things that are beautiful and healthy good, that looks to the care of the weakest and says, that's what we are called to do. So this is part of what this child is going to do. He's going to be like a stick of dynamite underneath the sleeping culture and says, get up, let's call things that are wrong wrong. He's going to turn the hearts of fathers to the children, the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready for the Lord a people prepared. So here's an interesting thought. It's one thing for the Lord to be prepared, or for an event to be ready. It's another thing to be ready for the event, or to be ready for the Lord. I'll give you two examples. Years ago, I got engaged, and I asked Catherine to marry me, and she said yes. And we started planning our wedding, and for weeks and weeks, months, we were planning our wedding. Invitations, the venue, the food, all of it, the clothes, everything. So there's getting ready, getting the event ready, but then, there comes that day where you say, am I ready for the event? Am I ready for marriage? Or, these days I'm waiting for the birth of my daughter. And we're getting the room ready. We're getting the house ready, trying to get the budget ready, trying to get our car ready, trying to get our insurance ready, all those things. But the question is, am I ready? Or is my daughter ready? Like, she is being shaped day by day by day until the day of her birth. So I know a lot of times we're eager and anxious, right? This is something that's in my mind. What should I do? I should pay attention to the ways God is getting me ready. Sometimes I'm so anxious for something to change in my life, for something to come about. God, please give me a new job. God, please give me, maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend. God, please give me a college scholarship, or give me, is it possible that while those things are kind of lining up and God is getting those things ready for you, He is also getting you ready for those things? And I think Zechariah is one of those characters that God is getting ready for John. And we'll see Zechariah's response to the angel, right? So far we have the angel talking about this miracle, and then tomorrow I think we'll look at what Zechariah replies. And we will find out, here's the preview. Zechariah is not yet ready for this child, which is a good thing, because he's got a few months to wait.